We were talking in an earlier segment about this kind of prejudice and this kind of projection and so on, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this kind of soft prejudice of let's just call it kid glove prejudice. I'll just give you two examples really quickly. I was the editor on Sunday Morning Shootout for 5 years. I cut 190 of those shows, I guess, before I got into politics. So it's behind-the-scenes look with, movie stars and stuff with Peter Bart and Peter Guber. They're pretty big names at the time, certainly. And so I got to see what happened before camera and after camera and so on. And I noticed whenever there was going to be a black guest on the show, they got so careful with them. They were so careful and so delicate. And so completely taken with the idea that whatever we do, we can't give any offense. And Lawrence Fishburne, to his enormous credit, was asked, this is right, 2007, just before Obama was, just when he was really starting to come up in the primaries. One of them said, well, as a black American, Lawrence, what do you think about Barack Obama? And he said, can I just answer that as an American? And I thought, my God. So on both sides of the issue, does it bother you to be called a gay conservative? I mean, I don't like the term. I don't like the term a black conservative for Antonia Okafor. It goes against everything I believe. But there is this kind of soft kid glove kind of sort of a, I don't know what it is. It's a kind of a self-censorship on the part of people, I think probably on both sides. I heard Alfonso Rachel introduced once as a black conservative, and walking out, he said, "Can't I just be a conservative?" What do you have to say about that? That idea that the label somehow is more important than what you say?
I agree with you 100%, and I think that is a true conservative value, is to be just called a conservative. As you had said earlier, it's looking at the individual, not at the collective. So yes, when I get, of course I get the gay conservative thing all the time, and I roll my eyes, but I get it. And it's sometimes if I tweet or speak about gay things, I do it in a way that's like, I don't really want to be doing this, but I know people want to hear about it. But I think it's important right now, just because it's a weapon. It's a weapon in the culture war. It's a weapon to say, and that's in the same vein where I am going to be like, yeah, gay conservative, whatever. I can still also fully embrace it, realizing it's weaponizing the left's tactics against them.
That's right. That's well said.
That's what it is. Yeah, and that's fine with me. That's totally fine with me. I can know deep down that like nobody cares, and like none of my conservative friends care. But especially when you go into public and you're speaking publicly, yeah, it's dismantling this structure they built up for 50, 60 years to try to make us look bad and discredit us. So in that respect, I'm happy to do it. But I think Antonia, I think anyone, all those people would probably agree that like, yeah, we're moving towards a day, hopefully in the next few election cycles where that just won't even be necessary, because the left's narrative will be in such a smoldering pile of ash on the floor.
It's armor, isn't it? It's a kind of a moral armor against the left's entire worldview. For instance, Milo goes out and says some pretty provocative things, needless to say. And they can't really call him anti-gay because he's quite gay. And they want to call him a racist, but his boyfriends are all black. I mean, it sort of immediately negates so many of the attacks that come to people like us. I was asked a question once that a student had been asked. It was a conservative group of students, but somebody asked me the question as it had been asked of them. And they said, as a white person, you don't get to talk about black issues. You have no way to comment on black issues. And my response to that was, so what? Are you saying black people are a different species? Are you saying they're just like an entirely different species, that there's no way to connect to them as human beings? Are you saying that we're both so fundamentally different that they can't do Shakespeare, for example, because it's written by a white guy? Because that's essentially what you're saying. You're saying that these differences are so great that I can't possibly understand them. My response is, a human experience is a human experience, and everybody has experienced some kind of oppression and some kind of joy and everything, and that people can in fact connect to each other. And when they do connect as individuals, it's kind of over for the left.
Right. Yeah, and that's stated very powerfully. I think you're absolutely right on that. And it's I remember that. I remember being on the left, and if you start talking about some black issue, people would tell you that would shut you down, and even then I would just be like, no, I'm still going to talk about this. You can't tell me what I can't talk about. I think you're right. It's people connecting on an individual level. That's where the power is, and this is also just another way that it's still. I find it so surprising that more people, especially on the left, don't realize this. They don't see how these tactics keep people that they think of as victims in a state of victimhood. How you have to be protected from these ideas. Nobody can talk about your issues but you because you're so special, and come over here and wallow amongst each other and don't engage with the outside world. And if someone tries to talk about your experience, then they're evil and wrong. It's keeping people on the plantation. Apparently,
That's right.
It's such a tool of oppression. It's such a tool of keeping those votes locked in and keeping people unempowered. It's amazing that more people don't see that as clearly as I think most conservatives see that.
Sure. I mean, you've got to paint the Republicans as people who are literally coming to put you in chains, put you back on the plantation. Because
Right.
if you don't do that, if you start looking at what the Democratic Party's done for black Americans, you realize Chicago's been governed by an unbroken string of Democrats for 80 years, and it's just a murder pit. Same for Newark and St. Louis and all of these cities. New Orleans, Atlanta's been governed by Democrats for something like 134 years without a single Republican in there. And if the right is not demonized by the left, if we just didn't exist, people would start asking questions about the left and what the actual results of their policies are. And that's not a discussion they seem to want to have, and I don't blame them.
Oh, exactly. I when I'm talking to lefties, I bring this up all the time. I was just being interviewed by a New York Times reporter, and I said to him, he was sort of he seemed okay, decent guy, but definitely a lefty, and he was going in this direction. And I said, look, race is one of the huge issues that red pilled me. Race is one of the huge issues that brought me on the side. You don't think I care about seeing black communities do better? You don't think I care about repairing the black family? You don't think I want to get black dads out of jail and to work? This is a huge issue. And I bring up the exact talking points you did. What has happened in any Democrat stronghold major city in this country that black lives have gotten better in the last 40, 50, 60 years? Like you said, Chicago, Baltimore, New Orleans, you can go down it. And if they're willing to talk with you, if they're not a total triggered lefty who's going to call you racist and walk away, they're stunned to hear this. They're stunned to hear these talking points. It's never occurred to them. And I say, okay, repair the black family, get black dads out of jail, and then I bring up illegal immigration. Illegal black men are the ones who are hurt most by illegal immigration. When you start railing into this, I mean, like, look at how much I actually care about race and care about, making everyone as equal as possible. They're flabbergasted. They can't say anything. They've never heard these arguments, but then they'll still just go back to voting Democrat because it's just too scary to engage these new ideas and these new ways of looking at things.
I had a friend who saw this with his own eyes. It was at a conservative party in Los Angeles, so pretty much all the conservatives were there. So maybe 4 or 5 people in a room. One of the guests was a liberal, a black gentleman, and he kind of got up when he realized he was surrounded by conservatives, kind of got up a little huffy about it and said, I'm leaving, this group of racists and all the rest of it. And somebody said as he was walking out the door, well, don't forget, Frederick Douglass was a Republican. And he turned around, he said, he was not. He said that the Republican Party is the entire anchor of the future of the black race. That's a lie. Look, man, you've got a phone. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. And this gentleman looked it up, and my friend said you could see this look on his face. First of all the anger went away, and he was just absolutely bewildered. And he sat down on the couch, and then somebody, I guess, they weren't trying to pile on or anything, said, Martin Luther King pretty much a Republican too. And he said, no. I need some time. I need some time here. Because he realized he'd been lied to his entire life. Have you ever had an experience like that?
Yeah, that was, my personal experience is like that. I realized I've been lied to my entire life. What you're saying, that basic scenario happened. I've had that several times over the last few months. Usually with, I'll tell you what, always with black Americans, you start talking and having these conversations. I've had 9 out of 10 times I've had these conversations with a black American who identified as liberal. They were so open to it. They were so shocked. It's white. It's mainly white, educated, upper middle class liberals who are freaking out. I can always have a conversation with a black guy about Trump, And like, yeah, they might walk away still not liking him, but they don't even come at it as upset. They're kind of like, yeah, I get it. I get why you guys like him. It's like the white liberal elites, the sort of like Ivy League, the Seven Sisters school. These are the people who are so freaked out, and they're the ones who think they have to stand up for, these poor defenseless black people. And it's hilarious that they don't see the hypocrisy. I have things like that happen all the time. It's interesting. And I always say things like, Ida Turnbull is one of my favorite Americans who ever lived. She's a black woman, in the post-slavery era. And one thing they always like to throw up, the Democrats, the white liberals especially, constantly is, the Democrats used to be the party of slavery, but the party's flipped. The party's flipped when the Civil Rights Bill passed because the Southern Democrats were so, they hated blacks so much they had to go Republican, which is such an insane lie. And all you have to do is take 90 seconds to explain the myth of the party flip. You have 5 statistics at your fingers, just boom, 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 boom. And that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. But still, it's too scary to get off the plantation. It's too scary to walk away from these ideas because our culture, and not only your peers and everyone around you, but it's the culture is leftist. The Hollywood, media, academia, even the establishment politics. Everyone it's the dominant culture around you is authoritarian and saying this is how you have to be, and it's scary to go against that culture. And I kind of don't blame people for being too frightened to do that. People, maybe they just don't want the hassle in their life. They just will say what they have to do. There's studies about the Soviet Union about this. There's a term for it, which I wish I had at my disposal right now. But there's a term for before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Essentially, everyone polled would pretty much say they supported the Communist Party. They'd go about their lives because they just didn't want to have to deal with what it would mean if they to disagree, if to speak out. And then as soon as that wall fell, it was everyone was being honest about what they truly felt, and it was that they'd always felt this way. So I think that's what we see in our culture. It's just it's not being enforced by the government necessarily. It's actually not at all. It's being enforced by the culture.